Kurt's just your average sweet guy who gets booted from the heroes party for being useless. Turns out he's got bottom of the barrel rankings in anything combat related. So he shrugs it off and starts doing odd jobs like fixing castle walls and digging holes. But plot twist, the dude's secretly a prodigy at literally everything else. Cooking, master chef, crafting magic tools, SS-tier, a one-man excavation team. The best part? Kurt has no idea how ridiculously talented he is. He just bumbles through life doing his thing, accidentally saving towns, helping folks, and casually pulling the country out of disaster like it's no big deal. Up in a sleepy mountain village, constantly getting bulldozed by a beastly S-rank Fenra, the villagers scraped together every coin they had to hire Flaming Dragon Fang, a superstar SS-rank adventurer squad. Each member was a walking legend. Except for Kurt. His whole thing, doing chores and not dying. He was literally hiding behind a wall when the Fenris showed up only to get yeeted into the stratosphere by the beast before anyone else. While the rest of the party got busy unleashing their cool powers, Bandana tried to restrain the Fenra with her wire, only to get crunched into a wall. Thankfully, their healer Marlis patched her up like it was no big deal. Golnova then torched the Fenra with a fire sword to the face, and the villagers were so grateful they threw a feast, despite being broke. Gulanova, ever the diva, scoffed at the peasant food and told Kurt to whip up something edible. Bandana wanted something special too. It was their last meal with Kurt, after all. Wait, what? Kurt didn't get the memo. Golova dropped the bomb. He was fired. The party needed a real fighter in that fourth slot, not someone who did the dishes. Kurt pleaded to stay, but Golova shut him down with a kick to the gut and a cold, "We don't need you." So Kurt, now broke and unemployed, wandered off to the city of Saw, with just a few coins jingling in his empty wallet. Desperate, he stumbled into a temp agency, where the receptionist, Kilshul, gave him a shot. After some basic questions, she asked about his past work. He mentioned the hero party, which got her attention name, dropping a famous crew can open doors. But then came the aptitude test. This was the world's way of figuring out your God-given talent, ranked from G garbage to SSS. Kurt? Yeah, he bombed every combat skill with straight Gs. Not a single useful bone in that body for fighting. But Kilshul held out hope maybe he had a trade skill. Unfortunately, the guy who does those tests was on vacation, so she'd need a few days. Kurt, one step from chewing rocks for dinner, begged for anything. She had him lift a sandbag, which weirdly sucked a bit of his mana. Still, he managed. Kilshul figured he was strong enough for construction and hooked him up with a job fixing city walls for a dude called the Margrave of Taiwan. The Margrave wasn't convinced this scrawny kid could hack it, but gave him a chance. Kurt not only did the work, he crushed it, finishing a huge section solo. The Margrave was floored, handed him some coin, and promised more through the agency. Over the next few days, Kurt rebuilt the wall, but then fired again. Why? Because he was too good. The Margrave explained the job was meant for struggling folks, and Kurt was eating the whole pie. He got a fat paycheck as a consolation prize. But poor Kurt thought he was canned for being a bad worker. Back at the agency, Kilshul was shocked to learn he got booted again. Just then, a girl was making a scene at the front desk, trying to recruit someone to help dig up her mountain mine with no upfront pay. She was desperate to avoid losing the mine over unpaid taxes. Everyone thought the deal was terrible, except Kurt, who casually walked up and said, "I'll do it." The girl, Ulysia, was expecting a burly dwarf, not this broomstick of a boy. But dwarves were too pricey, so she reluctantly took Kurt along. They set up camp only 1/10. Kurt, ever the gentleman, bailed when Ulysia went to bed in her underwear, which was a test, by the way. He passed. Next morning, she found her jacket mended. Kurt fixed it. When it came time to mine, Ulysia was all set to dig randomly and pray for gold. But Kurt, he had a sixth sense for finding gems. In no time, he sniffed out a jackpot. But instead of selling the gems raw, Kurt casually turned them into magic crystals on the spot, something only a handful of top mages could do. And very slowly at that. Ulysia ran off to sell them, flashing a royal emblem to avoid questions, and ended up making a whopping 500 gold. Her buyer, Mimico, a court mage, was stunned by the crystal's quality and begged to meet the creator. Ulysia played it cool. No name drops yet, but Mimico offered Kurt a noble title and a spot in the royal lab if he joined them. The next morning, Ulysia heads back up the mountain, expecting to meet Kurt where she left him. But instead, dude built a whole freaking house overnight. Like full-on walls, roof, the works. While she's still processing that, she tells him that a friend of hers wants to hire him as a royal mage. The job comes with fancy noble status, stacks of cash, benefits, you know, the dream. But Kurt's just standing there like, yeah, I'm gonna pass. And Ulysses' jaw hits the floor. I mean, who turns down a royal gig? His reasoning. He doesn't want to be above other people and still dreams of going back to the Flaming Dragon crew even if it means begging. Begging people. This man built a house in a night and still wants to go be someone else's errand boy. Meanwhile, over with the Flaming Dragon squad, things are going terribly. They're getting their butts handed to them by an angry tree monster. Golova can't cast fire magic for some reason. Marlapist's healing is glitching out. And the new guy? Yeah, he doesn't even know fire magic. The whole team is just flailing, without Kurt holding them together like magical duct tape. Only Bandon seems to realize the whole team is falling apart like a dollar store puzzle. Back on the mountain, Kurt is still mining with Ulysses. He tells her he found a sweet spot yesterday, and he's hyped to dig more gems for her. Ulysses is touched by the energy, but also a little worried wasn't he working all day yesterday. But Kurt's like, nah, I got 6 hours of sleep. She's stunned. 6 hours? And he built a house? She starts doing mental math like a mom, figuring out where her teenager snuck off to. Kurt misreads the look and apologizes for sleeping too much. Ulysses is just mentally screaming, this guy doesn't know he's a beast. So they get back to mining. Kurt leads her to what looks like a regular patch of woods and tells her to dig, but not more than 500 meters deep. Because, you know, people just casually dig half a kilometer by accident. Then he dips to check out another site, promising to meet up later. Ulysses digs all day and hits the jackpot a giant topaz. She gives Kurt all the gold from the magic gems he found, but this one's hers, and it'll cover her taxes. She could ask him to enchant it for more profit, but doesn't want to take advantage of his kindness. Good girl. She checks in on Kurt later, and of course he's gone full madman again. In just 8 hours, he built an entire tunnel network, and he says he barely found anything valuable. Just a few rocks. Ulysses peeks into his haul and nearly faints. The worthless rocks are mithril ores. Dude thinks mithril is trash. In his village, they used to just chuck it. She's speechless. And what was he even looking for? Oh, just Oracultum, aka the metal of the gods. He holds up a tiny box like it's nothing. Even a gram is worth millions, and he casually mined a box of it because apparently you just need to dig 8 kilometers into the earth. Sure, why not? Ulysses had enough for the day. Her contract with Kurt is done, so he's off to find a new job, blissfully unaware of the dragon-sized mountain of gold chilling in his bank account. On his way to the agency, he bumps into Bandana. She's out of the Flaming Dragon now too. Turns out Golova lost his mind after their last mission and smashed up a 5-star restaurant because the food didn't taste like Kurt's cooking. Then he told Bandana to drag Kurt back even if it meant breaking his bones. So she noped out, stole his teleport crystal, and left him to the guards. Kurt's bummed he can't go back to the group, still under the illusion that Golova was a decent dude. Bandana's like, dude, why? But she lets it go and offers him a new job instead. Her friend's an Atelier master, basically royalty in the crafting world, and needs help in her workshop. Kurt's in. He heads to the house. It's a regular house. Nothing fancy. And a tiny elf girl named Michelle opens the door. She's the assistant. Kurt's here for the job, so she asks him to clean the kitchen. It smells like Poseidon's armpit in there, but he tackles it anyway. When he's done, he wanders the house and accidentally walks in on a girl in her room half naked. Turns out she's cursed. Kurt spots it instantly, and being the good guy he is, offers to cook her something easy to eat. Later, Michelle and the master, Atelier, come up from the basement and are stunned the kitchen is no longer a crime scene. They see Kurt's cooking and are impressed, even pay him a hefty sum for one day's work. Atelier checks on the cursed girl, and when she eats Kurt's porridge, the curse just breaks. Poof, gone. Meanwhile, the shadowy group who cursed her? Yeah, they're pissed their assassination spell failed. They're gonna go full villain mode now. And as the girl Princess Lee, by the way, arrives at Mimico's shop with Atelier, the whole gang learns she's royalty and was targeted to start a war. But guess what? The guy who saved her, it was Kurt. And everyone freaks out. Ulia's still struggling to wrap her head around the fact that Kurt broke a years-old curse with a bowl of porridge. Seriously, she leaves him unsupervised for half a day, and he just saves the princess. It's wild. Of course, they'll reward him later. But first, Mimico wants to track down the mastermind behind the curse. Thing is, Lisa's room is usually sealed tighter than a dragon's vault with anti-curse spells, so someone had to tamper with them. Only 3 people had access back then. General son of Ariskat's Yes, that ridiculous name, Bishop Tristan Maynel, and and Queen Isadora herself. No one wants to start flinging accusations around without proof, so Aelia proposes a trap. Lisa just turned 15, which means royal tradition says she's got to go train for a year. The shady folks behind the curse will definitely see this as a golden opportunity for round 2. So Aelia decides to set up a fake Atelier and spread the word that Lisa's training there. If the baddies bite, boom, caught in the act. Only problem is, they need a believable fake master to pull it off. Ulia's got the perfect candidate. She whips out one of Kurt's magic crystals, and Aelia's jaw practically hits the floor. This thing isn't just good, it's legendary tier. Meanwhile, Kurt shows up at Aelia's place the next day, ready to work. But all he finds is a note saying she's out. And just like that, he bumps into Michelle, who tells him that Aelia and Lisa ran off somewhere after he left. No work means no crafting, so he wanders off to the guild for food. While munching away, he overhears a group stressing out because their porter called in sick, and without someone to haul loot, their whole mission's toast. Kurt, being Kurt, offers to fill in even though he's a noodle-armed craftsman who's never thrown a punch in his life. Stina laughs in his face, but her brother Ken tells her to knock it off. Still, he's skeptical. After all, golems weigh over 200 kilos. So Kurt, in the most anime moment possible, casually lifts both Danzo and Cans at once. Cans alone wears 150 kilos of armor. The team's sold. On the way to the cave, the group introduces themselves. Ken's a heavy warrior who prefers fists over blades. Danzo's a samurai, and Cena's the team's ranger. Their fourth member's sick at home, which is why they needed Kurt. Everything's going fine until bam, Kurt yelps in horror. They spin around expecting a monster, only to see him struggling with a slime. Cena calmly tells him to stab the core. Easy peasy. Except Kurt's knife won't even scratch it, and somehow he stabs himself instead. Cena finishes it off for him and tells him not to worry, his job is carrying stuff, not fighting. Kurt's baffled. This party isn't mocking him or yelling at him like Dragonfang used to. They're actually nice. The cave gets darker the deeper they go, so Cena lights things up with some glow moss. Kurt spots some goblin poop and panics. Cena confirms it's fresh. Yep, there's a goblin nest nearby. If it's just a few, they'll be fine. A horde? Instant death. Of course, they run into a goblin who blows the whistle before Cena can silence him. Now they're surrounded. Danzo turns to Cena for a plan, but the only one they've got is a glorious, dramatic last stand. Then Kurt saves the day by finding a hidden passage in the wall, except they still need a distraction. Danzo and Cans nod to Cena, and she shoves Kurt into the passage and seals the door. Kurt's confused. She explains that the others are buying time so they can escape. She's clearly devastated, but deep down, they all know Danzo and Cans just signed up for a one-way ticket to Valhalla. Inside the hidden room, Cena drops to her knees because they're not just in any room. It's a dragon golem boss room. Kurt, completely unfazed, he hops on the thing's tail and, with a tap of his dagger, lops it clean off. Same with the limbs. Cena is terrified now. This guy couldn't even kill a slime, and now he's dismantling a metal death machine like it's IKEA furniture. Ulia bursts in mid-battle and sees the carnage. She tells Kurt that Danzo and Cans are safe thanks to her. Everyone regroups, and Ulia offers Kurt a spot in her new Atelier. At first, he hesitates, but Ken tells him to go for it. Cena and the others even agree to be the shop's protectors. Back in town, Kurt gets his skills appraised by Mimiko, a royal court mage. She lies and says they're all B rank. In truth, every single one of his skills is triple S tier, and his mana pool, God tier. Mimiko knows if word gets out, it could cause chaos like country-level chaos, and Michelle just heard everything. Well, that's probably bad. The next day, the crew hits the road, headed straight for the town, where the big fancy Atelier workshop is supposed to be set up. Kay's buzzing with excitement, super hyped to meet this mysterious new Atelier master. The only problem? Ulicia never actually told anyone who that is, probably because she doesn't want to admit the truth it's Kurt. So when Kay starts asking questions, she starts pulling excuses out of thin air. Cena, sharp as ever, notices Ulicia acting sketchy and is getting seriously suspicious. And to make things even more awkward, Kurt realizes this is the same town where he once repaired the wall. He still thinks the Margrave fired him for being a lousy worker, so now he's sweating bullets just being here. Eventually, Ulicia drags everyone to the new workshop site. Only, there's no workshop, no building, not even a half-finished shack, just a sad little patch of empty land. Keys is like, how exactly are we supposed to work with nothing? And Ulicia, totally unfazed, tells them they'll be chilling at an inn, while Kurt builds the whole workshop by himself in a day. Kurt, bless him, doesn't even flinch though. Even for him, that's a tall order. He says it'll take 3 days minimum. Ulicia waves it off and says he can take as long as he needs. and to let her know if he needs any materials. Kurt takes her up on it. He hands her a shopping list that includes things like amethyst and griffin feathers. Cena hears this and just blinks. Why does he need magic beast parts to build a workshop? Ulysses doesn't even question it. She knows better. She just nods and says, it'll take 2 days to gather everything. Kurt's chill with the wait. Meanwhile, Singa still has this gnawing gut feeling that something here is way off, and Ulysses notices. But neither of them says anything, yet they're just quietly sussing each other out. Ulysses tells everyone to head back to the inn so Kurt can build in peace. And before they go, she reminds him to eat and rest and not work until he passes out, okay? He agrees, and everyone else heads off. Once they're all at the inn, Ulysses gathers them around because it's time to spill some secrets. Until now, Cena and Danzo have just thought Kurt was some hardworking, kinda shy handyman. But with Cena putting 2 and 2 together, Ulycia knows the cat's about to claw its way out of the bag. She starts with a curveball pulling out her royal crest and revealing that she actually works for the royal family. And that girl sitting across from them, that's Lee, the 3rd princess of the kingdom. Jaws drop. Cans tries to stand and salute her something, but Lee's like, nah, I'm undercover, just treat me like your average girl with average princess level crushes. Cena asks if that makes Kurt royalty too, but Ulycia says no, he's not a noble or anything, just your everyday, impossibly broken god-tier mystery man. She explains that while Kurt's combat skills are ranked G, basically garbage, every other skill is triple S, like the kind of ranking that's supposed to be an urban legend. Cena, Cans, and Danzo are all like, oh, well that actually explains a lot. But then Cena gets mad, like really mad. She calls out Ulycia for lying to Kurt about his rank, telling him he's B rank, when he's actually some kind of mythical creature in human form. Ulycia defends herself, saying it's for his protection, but even she admits it sounds like a bad excuse. Cena says she's done with this nonsense and storms off for a walk. And, of course, she ends up walking straight to the worksite, where she nearly faints, seeing the foundation of the workshop already done in a few hours. Kurt's just vibing, thinking this is totally normal. He tells her that back in his village, people built like 12 houses before lunch, so he's actually kind of slow.